The Terrible Two by Mac Barnett and Jory John. Illustrated by Kevin Cornell. Read by Miss Clabaugh. Chapter 35. The Barkins' phone rang at 4:03 a.m. Principal Barkin picked it up and said,
Barry, this is your father, former Principal Barkin. Am I waking you up?
No, said Principal Barkin.
Don't lie to me, I can hear the sleep in your voice.
Something wrong, said Principal Barkin.
Do you know what today is? It's April 1st, also known as April Fool's Day, and you are sleeping like a fool. You should be up writing your April Fool's Power speech. I wrote it last night, said Principal Barkin. And you should be up practicing. Okay. Practicing your pauses. Okay. Putting power into your voice. Okay. Ensuring that every student knows there will be a zero tolerance policy for April Fool's pranks. You know, Dad, said Principal Barkin. Some people might say calling a person at 4 in the morning is an April Fool's prank. How dare you? This is not a prank. I am not pranking you right now. I have never pranked in my life. That was a joke, Dad. A joke or a prank? There's a fine line between joke and prank, Barry. And you're stepping right up to that line when you accuse your father of pranking. A pranking principal, just like your grandpa Jimmy. You know, he once.
Okay. I better go practice this speech, Dad.
Then go.
Bye.
Give Josh and Sharon my love.
Barry Barkin sat on the edge of his bed in the dark.
That was my father,
He told his wife.
He sends his
Love. Said Mrs. Barkin. Principal Barkin couldn't get back to sleep. When he closed his eyes, he saw Miles Murphy's face. The little prankster was probably planning something. Principal Barkin decided that his father was right. His father was always right. He turned on his bedside lamp. At 6:03, Principal Barkin, showered, shaved, and full of oatmeal on toast, pulled into his parking spot behind the school. He activated his new car alarm and walked up the steps to the rear entrance of Yanni Valley Science and Letters Academy. Barkin sniffed. It smelled like cows this morning. Must be a strong wind blowing in from the farmland. Barkin entered the school. In the dark, on the way to the light switch, he bumped into something large and hairy. I don't remember any of this, he mumbled. Barkin flipped on the lights. It was a cow. Barkin almost laughed. April Fools, he said to the cow. Principal Barkin had a list of suspects that was exactly 1 kid long. Apparently this was Miles Murphy's idea of an April Fool's joke. Too bad Miles didn't know his principal liked to get to school early. Principal Barkin had plenty of time to lead this cow out the back door and down those. Principal Barkin put his hand on his principal pact. Fact 586. That cow couldn't get downstairs. Fine. This was fine. He had plenty of time to squash this April Fool's joke. The earliest students wouldn't be arriving for almost an hour. That was plenty of time to hide the cow in his office. This way, cow, Principal Barkin said to the cow. The cow didn't say anything. Soon Principal Barkin was behind the cow, pushing. Then he was in front of the cow, pulling. The cow didn't move. Move, cow, said Principal Barkin, now behind the cow again. That's when a second cow, curious about the commotion, rounded the corner. 2 cows, said Principal Barkin. This prank was more elaborate than he'd thought. Barkin wasn't sure he could fit 2 cows in his office. Maybe he could stash one in the faculty bathroom. A third cow ambled over. Barry Barkin began to get a terrible feeling. He tiptoed to the corner and peered around. No, said Principal Barkin. No, 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 no. He ran down halls. He saw more cows. No, 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 no. Cows in classroom. No! This was bad. This was very bad. Barkin needed an idea, some way to salvage the school day. He needed a place to think. A place away from all these cows. He ran up the stairs, pushed through more cows, and opened the door to the supply closet. His sanctuary, his fortress. He turned on the light. No. A cow was chewing on a mop. It was the masterstroke. Chapter 36. At 7:45, Miles and Niles crossed the parking lot and joined a throng of students amassed on the lawn. Principal Barkin had a bullhorn. He was barring the entrance. Later, students would agree that Barkin's face had never been so purple. It looked like his neck held up a screaming bilberry. I repeat, form an orderly clump. What's going on? Asked Holly. Yeah, said some guy named Scotty. What's going on? What's going on is that you can't come into the school right now because it is on fire. Panic, screaming. It was on fire. A small fire that is out. Remain on the premises. Everything is safe. If it's safe, why can't we go inside? Asked Miss Shandy. Um, because there is a flood. Luckily, the flood put out the small fire, but now there is a lot of water. Remain in a clump. The school day will commence shortly. It smells like a cow, said Stewart. What? No, that is just the smell of burned things that are now wet. When something is on fire and then gets flooded, it sometimes makes a cow smell. Somewhere in the art room, a cow mooed. That sounded like a cow, said Holly. Ridiculous! What is more likely, Holly, that we had a fire and a flood, or that there are cows in the school? I guess the fire and flood? Exactly, Holly, exactly. There's a cow in the art room, Stewart said. He had his hands cupped against the window and was peering inside. Stewart, step away from the building. There are 6 cows in the art room. Chaos, laughter. Students, all students, Principal Barkin says, step away from the building. Stop looking through the windows. There are cows everywhere, Stewart said. Bossy came up to the window behind Barkin. Well, isn't this something? Said Holly. Another cow, said Stewart. This is like Cow City. Bossy's breath left a thick coating of cud on the glass. There is nothing remarkable happening. I think the cat's out of the bag, Barry, said Miss Shandy. Leave! Go home! Stop looking! Go away! Principal Barkin said. School is cancelled. Mayhem. Cheering. Chapter 37. Miles went over to Niles's house for a celebratory breakfast. Cereal and toast with 3 kinds of jam, and scrambled eggs with onions, all washed down with a big glass of milk. It was delicious. But the prank wasn't quite finished. At about 10:30, Miles and Niles returned to school. They found Barkin behind the school, where he'd gone with his son after the students had left this morning. For a while, Josh had tried to push a cow out the rear exit. It won't go down the steps, Dad. Of course she won't, Principal Barkin had said. Haven't you even read the booklet? You're not helping. Go home. He'd called his wife to pick Josh up and spent the next couple of hours sitting. Niles, I'm glad to see you, said Principal Barkin when he saw the pair approach. Miles, I am not glad to see you. Unless you're here because Niles can prove that you put these cows in the school, and he's here to turn you in. I didn't do it, Miles said. That's what you always say, said Principal Barkin. You should put that on a t-shirt, and then I will wear a t-shirt that says, yes, you did. Principal Barkin, said Niles. Miles couldn't have done it. Barkin stared at his school helper. Why not? Because Miles spent the night at my house. On a school night? We were studying for Miss Shandy's test, Niles said. Test. Principal Barkin exhaled faintly. School canceled on a test day? And election day, Niles said. We were supposed to vote for class president. Principal Barkin's gaze went fuzzy. It looks like the cows are still here, said Miles. Of course they are, said Principal Barkin. They can't go down steps. Doesn't anyone read the booklet? Hey, maybe you should call your brother, said Niles. Isn't he a farmer? I can't. They're all branded B. They're his cows. Oh, said Niles. So then, shouldn't you tell him? No, no, no. Bob has a big mouth, and you boys wouldn't understand. Thanks for coming, but I'm afraid you can't be of much help, Niles. And Miles, you can be of even less help. Actually, said Niles, we think we figured out who did this. We think we know who did all the pranks. Barkin snapped upright. You do? Yeah, said Miles. We think, well, we think, we think it was Josh, said Niles. Josh who? Said Principal Barkin. Josh Barkin, said Miles. Josh, my son, Barkin, said Principal Barkin. Yes, said Niles. That's insane, said Principal Barkin. Is it? Said Niles. Think about it. He would have access to your car keys and the keys to the school and even the locker combinations. Maybe Josh is the one who framed Miles with the pie catapult. I mean, we know that Josh doesn't like Miles. Well, nobody likes Miles. He's a prankster. But what if he's not? Barkin hesitated. But no, Josh couldn't have. He was at Cody Bertyler's Nature Scout Outdoor Jamboree last night. On a school night? Niles said. Well, you boys understand, said Barkin. It was Cody Bertyler. Miles smiled. Principal Barkin, Miles said, Cody Bertyler doesn't even exist. Now that is insane. That is insane, said Niles. We went to his birthday party. I bought the guy a present. I met some kids from St. Perpetua the other week, Miles said. They'd never heard of him. But then who'd I give a present to? Niles asked. Who'd we all give presents to? Who was wearing that football helmet unless... I mean, Josh was basically the only kid who was not at the party. No, 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 no. I have the invitation to the jamboree right here. See? From Cody Bertyler. Barkin pulled out a card from his principal pack. Niles took a look. Red ink. He drew in a slow, tragic breath and shook his head. I hate to say it, but this could be a forgery, Principal Barkin. Josh was the only student to fill out my mid-year wellness survey in red. For once, Barkin didn't go purple. He went pale. Excuse me, boys. I have to make a phone call. Earlier that week, Josh Barkin had received an invitation from Cody Bertyler. It hadn't been to a jamboree, and it hadn't been written in red ink. It was written with a blue Bic Velocity 1.6 millimeter ballpoint pen and mailed by Miles Murphy on March 23rd. Here is what it said. Dear Josh Barkin, what's going on, dude? Guess what? Congratulations! You have been invited to join Cody Bertyler's secret pranking club. But hold your horses, man. You're not in yet. If you want to be in this club, then guess what? You'll have to prove yourself by spending the entire night in my secret headquarters on a school night. Spend the night in my treehouse on March 31st. At dawn of April 1st, carve your initials on the wall. Then you are in. Warning, we will be watching. If you show up at dawn and pretend you've been there all night, we will see you. If you try and write your initials before dawn, we will see you. And then you will be out forever. How are you going to pull this off? That's your problem. Make something up. Tell your folks you're hanging out at my Nature Scout Jamboree, or wait, why am I giving you ideas? You think of something. Destroy this message as soon as you read it. Eat it or something. Or else. Cody. It took a brief principal to principal call for Barkin to verify that Miles and Niles were right. Nobody named Cody Burr Tyler was enrolled at St. Perpetua. But at home, Josh Barkin swore Cody was real. Okay, so I wasn't at his jamboree, but I couldn't have moved Uncle Bob's cows. I was spending the night at Cody Burr Tyler's secret headquarters. I even carved my initials in the wall, with a date. I'll show you. And so Principal Barkin followed Josh into the forest. But while the perfect treehouse takes hammers, saws, and 6 weeks to build, it only takes a sledgehammer, a delicious breakfast, and a couple of hours to dismantle completely. But Josh Barkin stood at the base of a sycamore, looking up at branches that hold only the beginnings of buds that would soon bloom bright red. I want you to walk out of this forest, back to our house, and up to your room, said Principal Barkin. You are grounded, and although it pains me to say it, you are officially on probation at Yawny Valley Science and Letters Academy. But you can't put me on probation. That would mean, yes, that would mean that you are ineligible for student council. When we reschedule school elections, Holly Rash will be running unopposed. Josh turned his back and muttered, Nebus. But Principal Barkin wasn't finished. And Josh, he said, I certainly can put you on probation. I can do anything. I am a principal. Principal Barkin straightened his red tie. He'd had a pretty bad day, but it was a pretty good power speech.